I'd say it's definitely worth it. It was pretty fun, and it was like a great life experience. It was like there was a lot of like stuff to get ready for it, but I mean like it was worth it because in the end like it was a really good life experience, and like we had a lot of fun. I think money is spent on travel is money well spent. So like even though it was like a relatively expensive trip, it was still like worth it in the end, I think. I would definitely say I don't know. There were like a lot, and I think some of the biggest ones weren't things that we planned on the trip, but I think it's just like late night conversations and like bus rides and like. So we played this card game Kaiser, which is like a game of Trump. Yeah, and we played that. So there's probably four of us, and we played that 3 times a day, every day. Like we woke up, we played it, we left, we got back, we played it, and then after supper we would play till like 10 o'clock at night. Like we just played it so much, and it's just stuff like that I'll remember. Like I'll remember playing Kaiser like 24/7 because it was just the four of us that loved playing it, and it was like the most fun times. Or like just at surf camp, like spending time just hanging out. Those kind of things were really memorable. But it was I think some of the actual like planned things on the trip that are really memorable. Like surfing was a really memorable thing for me because like that's something I'd never done before, and then I go out and try it and realize that I love it. So like just like stuff like that, like trying new things and realizing how much I love them. Really like smooth. Like we all by the end of the trip we were all really close. Like everyone on the trip was friends pretty much, and like people who like never would have talked outside the trip were having like full blown conversations by the end, just stuff like that. Like I would say by the end everyone was relatively tight. I thought I would enjoy it, but I never realized I'd get out there and be like, oh my god, I love this like so much, you know? Like it was like before the trip, I was like, oh, surfing's gonna be fun and it'll be a fun 5 days, but I don't know if I ever want to do it again. But now I realize like it's so much fun and I want to spend a lot of time surfing. Definitely, the cultural experiences were a lot of fun. Like just being in Bendigo, for example, we'd walk around the streets and there were all these like old like English buildings, right? And they were like you could just tell that like the town had so much history and stuff, and like just different things like that. Like the cultural aspects of everywhere we went was like so interesting, right? Or even going to like the Brambrook Cultural Center and just viewing like different native lifestyles and everything, and how they like treated the land and all the stuff. And like even I think the coolest thing about the Brambrook like Cultural Center was the native story, like the story of creation, and how there was like just the way they were portrayed in the video we watched. I just thought like that was really interesting and stuff. Um, yeah, like everywhere we went had really interesting cultural aspects to it. I already like to travel a lot, and I'd never like stayed in a hostel before, and now I realize like staying in a hostel is so much better than staying in like a hotel. Like I enjoy it a lot more. So not that I want to travel, not that this trip made me want to travel more, but it just kind of changed the way I want to travel, I guess. I've never been someone who like wants to stay in high-end fancy resorts and just like spend my time at the resort. I've always been someone who wants to get out and do activities. But I think I realize now like I would rather do it low budget because not even just the aspect that it costs less, but just I think like being out there and like tenting and actually like doing it in I guess a harder way is a lot more enjoyable. I would not particularly. I wouldn't say there was anything like physical that I hadn't already like done before that I was like, oh, this is really difficult. Like rock climbing was like pretty straining on your forearms, but like I'd rock climbed before, so I kind of already knew that. Like there were a few, so I guess there were a few things. Or like hiking, when we were hiking the Blue Mountains, like eventually you get kind of tired with like the like 15, 20 pound like pack on your bag, right? Obviously your shoulders get sore after 3 or 4 hours, but like nothing that I didn't expect. The view was really beautiful. Like I enjoy hiking a lot. Like I always hike in the summer. Like sometimes I hike in the winter, and I'm just a kind of a hiking person. But with the Blue Mountains, like the view was like so beautiful. Like as soon as we got on there, like when we went off that little like side trail and just looked at that like waterfall area and got to see the Three Sisters, like it was so beautiful. And then just like getting to the campsite and doing the mission up to the Broken Castle, and like just those little things like that, and then seeing the like it from another view again, it was just like really really beautiful. And I think like I really like the Aussies, like the ones that are our age. Actually they were in grade 9 and they probably looked like they were older than us, but they were like the school groups there were like there was this one kid Isaac, and like him and I still talk to him every day. Like they're just like I don't know, they're a lot like us I guess, and like we got along really well, and we spent like our entire time at like that entire like night at the Grampians with them. We would play like footy with them and stuff like that because like they were really it was really enjoyable to spend time with them. I think that what changed about me on the trip was responsibility. Like I've never really been like an irresponsible person, but like now that I'm home, I've kind of been like jumping to stuff. Like I jump to chores. Like it's not like I have to wait to be asked, or it's not like, or it's not even that. It's just that like as soon as I see something, it's like, okay, I'll go get it done. You know what I mean? Like it's just I become more responsible in a sense like that, or just like if my room's messy, I'll just like clean it a little more often and stuff like that. So I don't know. I would definitely say where the responsibility aspect has changed me a lot. The biggest thing I realized about different cultures is that like you can find a lot of similarities. Like we're all different, but there's a lot of similarities. Like take for example like the Australian kids that were like roughly our age, right? Like they were obviously like very different. Like they all played footy. No one plays footy here. They were from a private school, like, and even in Australia, like even their like public schools have uniforms, just stuff like that. But at the same time, I realized like we talk to each other the same way, like we treat each other the same way, like just like there's a lot of similarities between us and like the Australian kids, or just like the natives there, for example, like when we compare them to like the natives in Canada, like even just like in Alberta, like there's a lot of similarities and like different things, but like there's a lot of differences, right? Like of their creation story and stuff like that. So I think every culture has similarities and differences, and you'll find that no matter where you go. A huge thing I really enjoyed about Morn's Island was not wearing shoes ever, because like it was sand, like it's always sand, right? So you just like no matter where you go, you're not wearing shoes. Like we would go on hikes, and I wouldn't wear shoes because like it's so soft on your feet, and like just walking everywhere and like laying in the sand, like that was so enjoyable. Like just kind of like being on Morton's Island and just like taking those walks on the beaches were really fun. I don't know. I wouldn't say I obviously I enjoyed the snorkeling and I enjoyed the sandboarding, but honestly not as much as just the chill aspect of just being in the sand, like sand everywhere, and just taking those walks and stuff like that. Honestly, like I don't enjoy wearing shoes. Well, I mean, I never enjoyed wearing shoes, but like I don't know that like it's not that that changed me, but like I'll just like take my shoes, like I'll go driving and then I'll take my shoes off and leave them in my car and just go to someone's place or whatever. And then like when I come back, I'll just throw my shoes on and drive again or whatever. Just like, I don't know. I really enjoyed the Grampians hike. Like that was a really beautiful hike because we don't have like mountains like that in Canada. Like we have mountains and different like hikes you can do, but not the same as it was on the Grampians. That was very like rugged terrain with like just like rocks everywhere you went, like different formations. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed Bendigo. Just walking around Bendigo was really nice. Like just seeing all the cultural aspects of Bendigo and just the different stuff, going to the parks. Katoomba in general, as well as like Coolangatta, like just everything we did there. Like when we were at Katoomba, like well, I guess the two physical experiences there would have been the Blue Mountains hike and the rock climbing and stuff. But like just even the Blue Mountains hike was really fun. So yeah, like for example, that was fun. Like because Coolangatta was the first time, like after the beginning of the trip, because the beginning of the trip was relatively chill. But once we like, and then it kind of like picked up a bit and it was a little more physical. But when we got to Coolangatta, that was the first time where it was kind of more relaxed. Which like, I'm glad everything was really physically like a little bit more physically demanding, but Coolangatta was nice because it was just kind of a bit of a break, and it was just like nice to have that one day we were on the beach for a few hours and we would just go like play in the water, and it was like just little childish things, like we literally played in the water like we were children, and just stuff like that, and it was a lot of fun to just have like kind of a chill day. I think that like everything on the trip was so like I guess well planned out, and it was so like spread out, I guess, like that in the sense of like what we did. Like it was just a range of a bunch of different things, and it made everything fun because we would start at the beginning and we would do like physically straining stuff, but then we'd take a break and do one thing here, and it made everything really fun because it's not like the whole trip was just relaxing, or it's not like the whole trip was just like running around doing like physically intense hikes. So it was like all over the place, and it made it really fun.